Hello everyone, welcome to my another video on job evaluation. But again, as I keep saying every time, before I delve into this aspect, let me recapitalize as to what we did in the last one. In the last lecture, I again spoke about something related with job evaluation, maybe the prerequisites, the certain principles that have to be taken into consideration, the model of job evaluation, and certain advantages and disadvantages which are associated with job evaluation. Now, today's lecture is very essential because till now we have discussed all the other aspect of job evaluation, and we all know that job evaluation is nothing but is again deciding the worth of the job in terms of money or in terms of its hierarchy in order to have the perfect wage and the salary differentials. Now, today's topic that I am going to talk about, it is on a very important topic which talks about the methods of job evaluation. Till now, I'm sure you're well equipped, or maybe because of my previous deliberations, you know that you are not new to the word job evaluation. Again, you have to bear in mind that job evaluation is all related with the job and not with the job holder. So, as you can see on the screen also, that there can be different methods of job evaluation. They can be analytical and they can be non-analytical methods. And in the case of analytical and non-analytical, they can be something they can be termed as qualitative methods, and they can be termed as the quantitative methods. So, basically these non-qualitative methods, they are basically the qualitative methods, and analytical, they are actually the quantitative methods. So, let me give you a brief introduction about the difference between the qualitative methods and the quantitative methods. The qualitative methods, they are of course, they are very simple and fast and easy to understand, whereas in the case of quantitative, the word itself is telling us quantitative. It is little complex and it involves lot of time and money also, whereas in the case of qualitative, it's very inexpensive and there can be more chances of biasness that can creep in. And in the case of non-qualitative, quantitative, that is the non-analytical methods, there are different ways by which we actually judge or we come to the conclusion of job evaluation, and they are basically generally they are very simple and they are more flexible, and they are basically used in small organizations and governmental units. We have to bear in mind that in the qualitative methods, they are for the small organization. So, at times when I am teaching the subject in class, I tell people how to remember the methods. For example, my name is Rakhi Gupta, Dr. Rakhi Gupta. So, it's the initials are R and G. So, in the case of non-analytical methods or the qualitative methods, you can remember it by ranking and grading. So, if you are able to remember one aspect, I am sure you will be able to understand the other one. So, let's take the methods one by one. So, in the case of non-analytical method, is more of the ranking method and the grading method. Then we have got factor comparison and the point ranking method in the second one. As far as the ranking method is concerned, this is of course, my dear friends, one of the simplest methods of job evaluation, and here the whole job is compared with the others and rank is provided on the basis of this comparison, and comparison is actually made on the basis of the overall importance of the job to the company. So, again, the job is not broken down into factors, but the worth of the job is usually based on the judgment, maybe the judgment of the people who are doing it, because as I told you, in the case of qualitative method, there are more chances of biasness, and as you can see also, for example, the ranks have been given. For example, you have got engineer, accountant, and we've got purchase assistant, machine operator, office boy. So, naturally, it is in the importance of the kind of job the person is actually doing, and then of course the salary also. So, naturally, the salary of the office boy, it cannot be equal to the salary of the engineer. So, in the case of this ranking method, this method basically ranks the job in an organization from highest level to the lowest level, and in order to increase the reliability of ranking, there is an exercise of comparison which is undertaken by its members. So, there is a hierarchy which you can see. For example, it is like engineer who will do the job first, then the accountant, then the assistant, then the machine operator, and the office boy. However, these individual jobs, they may be important from their own level, but once we are making a comparison, naturally there is a hierarchy that is created. So one of the biggest advantages of ranking method is like it's very simple, very effective, and here we know the thing is that only few jobs can be evaluated. Now, for example, if they had been supposing 150 job profiles, for example, then it would have been very difficult to take into consideration. So, and as I told you that it is basically used in the small organization. So, one of the biggest disadvantage which is associated with this kind of method is that very difficult to administer as the number of jobs increases, or these ranks, they are basically subjective. There is no objectivity involved in giving this rank. Maybe the purchase assistant's job is more important than the accountant, but here the accountant has been placed at the second number and the assistant at the next level. So the judgments are very subjective, and there are more chances of biasness, as I told you, because again it will be the decision that will be taken by the evaluators, and we all know that as the evaluators, they should have the perfect knowledge about the jobs, about all the jobs, but frankly telling, as an evaluator, it is not possible to have all the information about all the jobs. You may be well acquainted with your particular kind of job, but you cannot be well acquainted with all kind of jobs in the organization. So that is one of the biggest disadvantage that is associated with this, and of course justifying the relative position of certain jobs. So this is actually not suitable for very large organization. So this kind of ranking method is very simple and easy, and which primarily based on the more on the choices of the evaluators, and of course all evaluators, they cannot have perfect knowledge about the jobs. So it does not actually here in the ranking method, this method actually ranks the various job in order of their relative worth, but it does not actually specify the real difference between the two jobs. For example, if it is the assistant and accountant, so they are doing different set of the work is being performed by them. So the exact difference between the job ranked at first and the job ranked at second, it cannot be specified. So that is one of the disadvantages associated with ranking method. Then the second one is known as the classification method or the grading method, my dear friends. So here job grading method is actually also known as the classification method. As you can see on the screen, that classification system defines the value of job, people or teams with the written standards for a hierarchy of classification level. It involves only matching a specific job with the list of the task in a predetermined labor grade. The grades are actually set. For example, we can have class 1 officers, we can have class 2 officers, we can have class 3 officers, we can have class 4 officers. So maybe the class 1, they are the executives, so there is a tag which is associated with them. Maybe the class 2 officers, they may be the skilled workers, maybe they are the skilled workers. Maybe then the class 3 people, they are semi-skilled workers. And maybe the class 4th people, they may be less skilled workers. So what we have actually done is, we have actually classified them into various levels like class 1, class 2, class 3 and class 4, and there can be different employees in the class 1 and class 2. For example, in the case of class 1, they can be superintendents or the deans or maybe the supervisors or the managers or maybe the departmental heads. Maybe in the case of class 2, they can be some kind of managers who can be a part of this, or maybe the accountants. Maybe in semi-skilled, we can have people related with typists or maybe the operators. So they are class 3, and class 4 is like for the people who are not that very educated, spot boys, office boys, maybe the file clerks or peons or messengers or maybe the housekeeping staff, so on and so forth. So in the classification method, there is a kind of a standard that has been set, and they have been classified into different categories, and it's like more or less the jobs which are established, they actually result in the different categories. So one of the the process that you can see that job description has to be there for each category. We have to develop the standards and we have to match the job. So naturally, if you will remember the example of class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, it will be very, very easy for you to understand. For example, the managerial, office clerk, they are all the different kind of classifications. As far as the advantages are concerned, we know that it's very, very simple, and job evaluation done on the grading method actually makes the wage and salary determination easier, as these are fixed in terms of the various grades of the job. So we know that if the person is semi-skilled, he will fall under the category 3, and the person will be getting an X amount of money. So, and if we know that okay, the person is in the executives or high level, then he or she will fall under the category of class 1. So naturally things will be entirely different. So basically these grades are independent upon each other. There is no connection of one grade with the another, and they are more suitable for the government employees, and it is very easy for the large organization. So if we have got large organizations also, there also we can have the classification method at our disposal. But however, there can be certain disadvantages also. For example, they are very subjective. On what category you are placing a person? There can be some kind of overlapping between the skilled and the semi-skilled people, or maybe semi-skilled and unskilled people. So that is one of the biggest drawback that is associated with this kind of grading system, that on what basis you are categorizing particular job in under one head. Then we know that there, of course, as we discussed in the initial stages only, that in the case of non-analytical method, there are more chances of biasness are there. So even here also the chances of biasness at the time of building the grades are there, and actually it will have an impact on its people. And at times, as I told you, there can be some kind of overlapping also. Some jobs may appear to be fit within more than one category. So how do we take a decision? So that's a big drawback. And the job grade description, it can be vague. There are more chances of resistance. And why there are chances of resistance? Because people feel that no, I am a semi-skilled person and I have been put in the category of unskilled. So that is how the resistance can come in the case of job grading method. So in the case of job grading method, naturally there are different grades which are being set, and they are independent on each other, but of course simultaneously they have their own advantages and disadvantages. As I told you that they can be easily slotted, classification level, face validity for the employees, because validity means again they are happy. For example, if anyone is semi-skilled and he is placed in the skilled level, so it will be happy for them. But on the vice versa, if somebody is skilled and he or she has been placed under semi-skilled, then definitely the conditions would be bad. Then in the case of disadvantages, as I told you that people, they do not actually fit, or it's an extensive judgment is needed. Differences between the classification level may not be equal. As I told you, they are independent of each other. So the bifurcation between one class level and class 2 level, it is very difficult to actually identify, and it actually creates a status hierarchies within the organization, because people have that kind of sense of pride in themselves that okay, I belong to class 1 category, I belong to class 2 category. There are people who may be very happy. There may be people who are very, very dissatisfied also, because of the kind of categories that have been created and the category in which they have been placed. So there is more of extensive administration which is needed in the case of job grading method or the classification method. But as I told you, there can be some kind of biasness also that can creep in, and then there's these biasness, they are at the time of the building up of the grades. Then the next method that we have got, it talks about the analytical method or the quantitative method. So in the case of quantitative method, there are quantitative plans, or maybe the factor comparison, point factor comparison. They actually evaluate the job by the use of number of factors. These factors, they are nothing but they are the compensable factors and the critical factors that we have discussed in our previous videos. And these are actually more difficult to set up because they provide a basis for the determining their accuracy, and they are more difficult to implement it. it. So it's very easy to say, but it is very, very difficult to do it. So in the case of point factor method, the system starts with the selection of the job factors. Then we have the degrees of each factor, assignment of the job or points to the degrees, and different factors are selected for different jobs. We have to bear in mind that all the factors, they are not applicable for all the jobs. So there are different factors for different job, and then we make a decision on the basis of the evaluation of those factors. So accompanying differences in the degrees and points. The most popular number of factors is between the 10 to 15. These are the factors which we actually talk about. Maybe kind of the responsibility the person has to take, or maybe the kind of job conditions. For example, how much physical effort is required, how much is mental is required. Now, for example, if anyone is in the Indian Army, so naturally the physical effort is more required. But in case if you are in a software making job company, then in that case the mental effort is more needed as compared to the physical. So every job has its own requirement. So we have to understand that this is also a very tough task to identify the factors, because every job, they have their own call. Then as far as the skills they are concerned, education, experience, initiative and genuinity. So definitely every job will call for a different kind of education and experience, responsibility for equipment, material, safety of others, or maybe the job conditions. So we know that any kind of working condition, for example, whether if the person has to work in the morning hours, whether the person has to work in the evening hours, whether the person has got a night shift, whether the person has got the night shift, or maybe the person has to hang and then do the work. For example, in an organization there is a vacancy for cleaner. So the cleaner can be like, okay, the person has to do the mopping and sweeping of the floor of the office, but supposing if the person has to hang outside the building, and then the person is required to clean the entire glasses, then that is a different case. So naturally there the risk factor is more. So anybody who is hanging outside the building and cleaning the glass is entitled to get a better wage or maybe the salary. In the point method way, we know that there is a process, that is like we need to understand the set of compensable factors. They have to be actually identified, and these compensable factors, as in I told you, they can be related with the mental requirement, they can be related with the physical requirement, the responsibility requirement, or maybe the working condition environment. So there is a different call for different kind of people for different jobs, or maybe the efforts that the people have to actually put in. So here what happens is that we have to understand the compensable factors. I am sure that you understand that what is the meaning of compensable factors. Then the points have to be assigned to these compensable factors based on the perceived importance of the job. So for example, as I told you that anyone who is doing a software building job, then the mental factors, they are of paramount importance. But again, if somebody is doing a marketing kind of a job, there maybe the person communication skill, they are of paramount importance. So once this is done for all the compensation factors, we have to evaluate the level to which each of the factors they are present in the job, and then we assign weights. So these weights, they are nothing but they are the kind of a numerical value that are actually assigned to the jobs. So this becomes more systematic that in that regard. So as far as this let me make it a little more clear to you, like as far as these compensable factors are concerned, this could be related with the, maybe as I told you, it can be related with the working condition, physical effort, or maybe the mental effort, and then it could be related with the maybe the experience part also, maybe the knowledge part also, maybe the location, maybe the abilities, maybe the environment in which the person has to work. Maybe the environment is very, very risky in terms of fumes or fire, or maybe in gases. Maybe the person has to work in the area where there are gases. As far as the environment is concerned, it could be day, it could be night. Maybe the person has to work in very cold area, maybe the person has to work in very hot areas. so on and so forth. So I am sure that you now understand what is the meaning of compensable factors, and the weights are the points that are actually attached to it. So then what happens is, then the jobs, they are then grouped by the total score and assigned to the salary grade, so that the jobs with the highest point would have the highest pay. So naturally, if we have got compensable factors, and if the with different weights have been assigned to it, so naturally what will happen is, like anything which is the highest level, that means the any job which has got the highest number of points, so that means that job needs more salary as compared to the others. Look at this: first degree, second degree, third degree, fourth degree, 5 degree. So these are the compensable factors that I have been talking again and again. For example, in terms of skill, knowledge, experience, effort, mental, responsibility, safety, working condition, hazardous condition. So here the points have been actually allotted and the degrees have been set. So we know that which are the jobs which will be of the highest degree, and then the decision can be taken. So that was all related with the point factor. Now another one which is the analytical method of our job evaluation, it talks about the comparison method. So in the case of comparison method, this method is actually based on the assumption that all jobs contain certain common factors to determine the worth of the job. So these common points, they can be anything. So these points, they can be related with the mental requirement, they can be related with physical requirement, or maybe the responsibility requirement, maybe with the working condition, so on and so forth. So these factors may differ in the degree to which they are present in different jobs. Typically the number of compensable factors is 4 to 5. So compensable factors, I am sure that by this time you know what is the meaning of compensable factors. Anything which is related with the factors, like for example hazards. Again, I am just telling you again so that you can understand better. For example, it can be related with hazards, it can be related with skills, it can be related with responsibilities, it can be related with efforts, it can be related with environment, it can be related with location, and it can be related with abilities, lot of other things also. So I'm sure you know what is the meaning of compensable factors. Then here we select the benchmark of the jobs, we rank the jobs on the basis of each compensable factor, and then we actually allocate the pay for across the compensable factors. So here each job has got a different kind of compensable factors, and these compensable factors, they actually help us to decide that which are the jobs which are very tricky or difficult to carry on, and the more they are typical and difficult to carry on, that means the package would be more. So this factor comparison is actually a combination of the ranking and the point system, and in this method, this is more systematic and scientific method. At times, if I want to tell you more, so this method was actually a combination, as I told you that this is a combination of the ranking and the point method, and it was actually Thomas E. Hitton who was the first one to originate the factor comparison method of job evaluation. So here again the benchmarking is being done, and then the points are given, and then the calculations, they are being actually done. So one of the advantages is, like, it's more systematic, there can be some kind of flexibility involved, and it's all applicable to the wide range of jobs, applicable to the newly created jobs in the company, and it's more accurate than any other. So as I told you that here again we as I talked about the advantages, but simultaneously there can be some kind of disadvantages also. For example, the judgments, they can be very, very subjective. They are very, very complicated, you know, that we have got different compensable factors, then we are assigning the values, and then we are comparing, then there's a comparison which is being made by one job to the another, then number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So all this is very, very cumbersome. And then it is like, since it's very, very time consuming, complicated and expensive, and this system actually becomes very obsolete very soon. and this system actually considers only limited factors of the job for comparison, and it's like very tough to take into cognizance the various factors and making a comparison and then writing the rank, because I told you that this factor comparison is nothing but it's more of a combination of the ranking method plus point factor. So there is a kind of a ranking also, and then there the compensable factors, they have got those weights also. So it's very tricky one. So we, as a result, we know that pay range is like pay from skill, effort, responsibility, and the working condition. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of the factor comparison. For example, they are very objective, they are reliable. Why? Because a lot of calculation work is being done. So at any point of time where there are calculation things, they become very easy. And then at times they can be different disadvantages, as I told you, that is very difficult to explain and understand. Reason being, because there are different factors which have to be ranked also, and then the weights are also given, then the comparison is being done. So it's very expensive, time consuming, and it's like using the same criteria to assess all job is not accurate, because in every organization, every job, they have their own call. In some jobs they can be there's a different call. As I told you, there would be some jobs that that will call for a higher level of physical exertion, and there would be some jobs which will call for a lesser physical exertion. And it's very time consuming and costly. So let's have a look at this also. There's a kind of a comparison which is being done, that in the case of ranking, the jobs are actually ranked in classification. If you all remember, class 1, class 2, class 3 and class 4, and in the point factor is like the compensable factors that need to take in consideration, and we assign weights. So weights are nothing, it's just the numerical value that is given to them. So with this and then we had also discussed about the different kind of advantages and disadvantages that are associated with the different methods of job evaluation. So my dear friends, these were the different methods, analytical and the non-analytical methods, that are taken into consideration while deciding about the wage differentials or the salary differentials, and they always come with their own set of advantages and disadvantages. But now let me give you a gist of the overall benefit of the job evaluation. So effective job evaluation, if it is done, then naturally the comparison can be done. We can actually compare one job with the another job, the kind of roles that are being played by different set of people, and it also helps us to identify the gaps, the overlapping part and the inconsistencies, so that we can overcome them next time when we are revising the skills. Then by assessing the value, the compensation part, by assessing the value and complexity of the jobs, job evaluation can help us in determining the competitive compensation packages. We know one of the principles, if you remember when we were talking about the principles of this job evaluation, that we have to take into consideration the industry also, the competition also, like what kind of money is being paid for the same kind of job outside. Then the third one, it talks about the specification. Job evaluation can provide a very clear and detailed understanding of what a job entails. This can be used to develop the job description, necessary skills, competencies, performance standards. All these are a part of the job analysis. So my dear friends, the another benefit that we have of the job evaluation is related with the planning part, and by providing a very clear picture of the job hierarchy, career paths within the organization, job evaluation can help in succession planning. People can actually understand that, okay, what kind of career do they have, and in case if they have the required skills and the knowledge and abilities, so to what next level they can actually proceed. And lastly, it talks about the recruitment process, that it's like a well conducted job evaluation can provide valuable insight for the recruitment process. Reason being, because in the recruitment process, if anybody is coming and if anybody is trying to get a first hand information that, okay, that in case if I work in a specific job profile, how much money I will be getting. So for a specific job profile, this amount of money is being granted. So once we have all these things at our disposal, so it's easy, because again there is very much of clarity in the minds of the company as well as in the mind of the people who are coming and they wish to be a part of the system. It can help in identifying the skills and competencies required for the job. Naturally, we all know that this is very important. So again, these would be the kind of compensable factors. These are the compensable factors that we have in the job evaluation. So if you all notice, my dear friends, at every point of time, things they are becoming very clear. So there is more clarity in terms of the kind of job profile, in terms of the work which the person is to do, or in terms of the money also, and money plays a very important role for anyone. So we from the solution and from the discussion, not the solution, I stand corrected. So from the entire discussion or the deliberation, we know that once we have a proper and an effective job evaluation, we can get number of good advantages also. And basically we have it at the time of planning, maybe at the time of succession planning, maybe at the time of recruitment. So more clarity, so the picture becomes more clear. So as soon as the picture becomes clear, people are very, very happy and satisfied. And when people are happy and satisfied, I'm sure they would like to work for a growing company. So that's all I have for you today in my lecture. I am sure that now you understand what is the meaning of job evaluation, or what are the principles, what are the advantages, and above all, which are the methods that are deployed to do the job evaluation. So these methods, they can be analytical and non-analytical, and non-analytical methods, they are basically the qualitative methods, and the analytical one, they are the quantitative methods. Naturally, quantitative methods, they are more tricky, more complex, more time consuming, and more expensive to take care of as compared to the qualitative methods. So thank you so much for being with me today. I hope that the concepts and the different parameters related with job evaluation, they are very, very clear to you. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for the new topic in my next lecture. Thank you.